Welcome, everybody, back to Veil of Sound. One of the first interviews after Roadburn, fortunately recorded before Roadburn. I wouldn't be able to do anything in the week after. And I'm also very, very happy to have somebody here on the show who's, first of all, not only a really nice person, but also a great drummer, a man with a good taste in new bands or old bands to promote on his label. And third, and most important of all, he's very handsome, so he can, balance out whatever you're seeing on this side of the screen. So, Michael Kadnar from Downfall of Gaia. Thanks for being here on the show, Michael.
Thank you for having me. Nice to see you.
Yeah, as well. So, Michael, first question here on Veil of Sound is always, what kind of band shirt, merch, hopefully not pants, are you wearing today, right now?
Today is laundry day, so I'm wearing my own band. This is Oblivion. So it's me and my partner, Lulu Black, who also sang on a couple songs on the new Downfall of Gaia record. So nice little full circle t-shirt today.
Tell everybody, so this is Oblivion. I know that it's not what some people would expect from you. So give us a little idea of what people will encounter when looking up the band right now.
Yeah, so basically Lulu and I come from two totally different worlds. Of course, she sings and plays violin and viola. I play in Downfall of Gaia and other bands, so we kind of mixed the two worlds together during the pandemic. It kind of saved our life and saved our sanity to write an album during the pandemic together. And we basically used everything at our disposal that we could. Weird instruments, weird percussion, some ballads, some industrial, and some blast beats on the last song. So a little bit of everything from all of our influences on that album.
And I'm very, as I know that you are a very eclectic person when it comes to your musical tastes. How does she feel about it? About the result?
We're both really proud of it, and it felt very organic to kind of, we both came in knowing like, okay, we're going to take our influences and trust that we both pick the right things. And I think we created something very unique and, like you said, eclectic, just a little bit classical, a little bit folky, a little bit industrial, a little bit black metal, but all cohesive in some way.
So the second question usually is like, where are we catching you? I know you live somewhere in the boroughs, but where?
So I moved to Bushwick, Brooklyn about 3 years ago, right around the pandemic. So 3 years now. I grew up upstate New York in the Hudson Valley, but now I've been in Brooklyn for 3 years.
And of course, when talking to somebody like you, I try to come up with an icebreaker question in which I can include as many of your bands as possible. So how hideous is it to handle so many pendulums at the same time without falling down?
Yeah, that is the question. To answer that, I'll just say I'm really fortunate that everybody I work with, every band member, every person who works for the label, everyone is so talented, so caring, and so determined and inspiring that it's all a labor of love, and it's just a pleasure. Every day I really get to do what I love and work with people that I love. And I really don't even like to call anybody my employee, because we're all very close friends. A lot of people I work with are in bands on the label, or that I tour with, or that tour with the bands I'm in. So it's all just like a big circle of trust and of inspiration every day.
So is it also some kind of support system?
It built into that. It's a community, it's a support system. In the early days, we'd spend a lot of time on the phone or emailing and just asking questions. I think one thing you and I talked about was, picking colors and stuff like that in our messages. And a lot of it is just brainstorming, kind of like a hive mind, asking, hey, what do you think about this? I have certain group messages. I just throw ideas out there and we talk about it. So it's a very healthy community and support system, definitely.
Cool. So for everybody who has not got those little Easter eggs that I put into the questions before, we will talk about two more of Dominic's things in a moment. But first of all, we have to talk about the new Downfall of Gaia album, which, when you listen to this, has already been out a few weeks. We are talking a week before release. So Dominic, Michael, how nervous are you right now about the release day?
I was a little nervous before we started releasing music because we did do some things different. We've all evolved as people. We've, obviously the whole world has gone through a pretty traumatic pandemic and being isolated. So I think all that being said, I mean, it's you can hear it in the music, but also it was a natural progression for us. So it was a little nerve-wracking because we did some new drum stuff, some new synth stuff, some different song structures, kind of looking into the past and to the future with this album. So kind of mixing everything that we've experienced and also that we plan to experience kind of in the music.
So how have the reactions been so far from what you heard? Reviews and critics and stuff like that, or people you played it to?
Yeah, with the few videos and singles that are out, the reactions have been really positive. I've been getting a lot of messages and people are really enjoying it, which makes me happy because I'm really proud of the record. I'm really proud of the music video, the drum videos. So everyone has been really positive and encouraging, which is a relief because it's been a few years since we released music.
Do you feel as if there is any kind of too much anticipation? Because whenever I talk to people, a lot of people are really hyped about the new album.
Well, yeah, that's good to hear. I mean, I never think there's too much anticipation ever. So I think that's good news and good to hear.
I can imagine. So Downfall of Gaia is an intercontinental band. You live in New York, Dominic lives in Berlin, and most of the others, I think all the others live in Europe anyway. So how difficult is it to have that kind of band construction?
I mean, we've been doing it for a few albums now, so we basically have it figured out, I think. And I think the most important thing is not even, in this day and age, not where you live, but how you work together, how you interact, how you create together. And we basically, I think, have a pretty nice streamlined approach, and we know what to expect from everybody in the band. We know how to work together. We know when to give space. We know when, okay, now it's time to play. So for example, our tour coming up in April, I will fly there and we'll rehearse for 4 days. And all of us know, okay, we'll practice at home. When we meet in person, it's go time. So everyone will know the songs already. They'll have them prepared from home. And then we just go right into it and make the most of our time. So I think the biggest and most important thing is just being prepared and trusting and respecting everyone's time, since we don't have so much time together because of the distance.
You've already mentioned it. You were not part of Downfall of Gaia when the band was founded, but if I remember correctly, or if I counted correctly, this is your 4th or 5th full length that you're already doing with Downfall. Do you still remember how it was when you joined? Did you think about this difficult construction?
Yeah, I mean, I was younger and more open to just being, a nomad. So in the beginning, I was like, yeah, I'll do anything. Let's go. I want to play drums. Now we're we're more meticulous about scheduling, and as we do get older, it's important to be like, okay, let's plan things 6 or 12 months ahead. So when I joined, I didn't expect any of this. I mean, I never toured Europe before I joined this band, so it was all kind of a big moment and a dream come true. And now it's very, very much part of my life, which is exciting for sure.
How much time do you spend on planes?
I'll say never enough, because I do love to travel. So.
Okay.
I mean, again, you know, I hate to keep bringing it up, but yeah, I mean, the pandemic, there was no tours for
Yeah, of
2
course.
years or more than 2 years. So, but before that, and now it's looking like probably every, you know, 3 to 4 months, I'll be heading back to Europe or heading, you know, somewhere to perform. So it definitely feels good to be back on the touring schedule, to be back moving around so much.
You've already hinted at, you know, how well prepared everybody has to be when you do get together. And I envision the songwriting process to be a rather unusual one. So how do you guys write songs? Is it a collective effort, or is there like one main songwriter that does it?
So the previous album, Dominic did, I want to say 90 to 95% or even 100% of the songwriting. But for this album, Peter Wolf is back, the original guitarist.
Yeah.
He has rejoined. So they split the duties as far as writing the first skeletons of the songs. So basically they'll write a demo, they'll email it to the rest of the band. One of them will write a demo, or both of them will send a demo via email. And the way I like to work is I like to just program very basic drumming ideas to give an idea of how it'll sound. So like, okay, this part is a blast beat, this part is a D beat or double bass. And the demos are very, I'll say bare bones for the drums. And then I like to leave all of the, you know, excitement and nuance for when we meet in person. So the fills, the little tastes on different cymbals, you know, dynamics. So that's basically how we've been writing the last few albums. But the demos are important. And then I think what's even more important is when we do meet in person, coming in with the demos, having ideas, and then just playing. Like I think this last album, I flew there and we played every day for 10 hours for the whole week, just to really play the songs, get the demos, make sure the tempos are right, make sure it felt right in person. Because you can hear a demo or, you know, your ideas on the computer. It's like, that's pretty cool. But when you really play it as a band, then you immediately know, oh, that's amazing, or oh, no, that's just not working. So that's a very important part of it too.
One thing that just came to my mind, do you also record together, or for example, do you do your drums in New York?
So the first album we did together, we all recorded together in I forgot the city already. Maybe it was Leipzig. We all recorded same studio. And then the next few albums, I recorded drums in the US, in New Jersey, at Background Studios with Kevin. And I've done a lot of albums with him, and I'm really comfortable there. So it made most sense financially, also logistically. I mean, he's an hour away from me. So we went there, the demos were solid, I recorded the drums, and then we would send those files to Germany, and the rest of the band would record on top of those.
Now, so of course you do yours first. What struck me about listening to the new album is that a lot of songs are a little shorter than what we are used to get from Downfall of Gaia. On your previous records, you often have songs crossing the 8-minute mark. And now on the new one, I think there's one with 7, and all others are somewhere around 6 minutes. Was that an intention of yours to make it a little shorter, a little bit more concise?
I think when we started writing, we considered it, but we also went in knowing that, like, okay, the song has to be the song. It will reveal itself. So as we started doing demos, we were hitting the 4, 5, 6 minute mark, and it felt appropriate. And like we said everything we needed to say. And as the album took form as well, we're like, okay, this all fits. This is a full length album. There's a story, there's a motif. So we really felt that like the songs kind of wrote themselves and felt appropriate at those lengths, because I mean, everything just fit, even the drumming. I would say is a little bit more aggressive and less breaks. So it's just like more relentless and kind of in your face, as opposed to some of the other, past tracks. If there is a 10-minute song, there might be a slow, quiet reprieve in the middle and a build. So yeah, it was kind of intentional, but also it just felt right.
When you talk about the drumming, that is also something that I noticed. I mean, like, apart from you always having been a fantastic drummer, but this time I got a feeling as if you're even more of a focal point for all the chaos around it. When I listen, for example, to the whir of flies, it even sounds as if everybody is standing around you and you are pushing and punishing the song forward and onward. Was that also something that you felt really good about, now being a little bit more up front and center in the sound mix?
Yeah, I don't think it was intentional, but I am comfortable with it. I'm happy with it. And I feel like every album we do together, everyone trusts each other even more, me included. So the band gives me space and freedom to create what I hear and feel. So a lot of the songs, like we said, are the songs that they have an organic flow and an organic kind of energy arc. And drumistically, yeah, I want to follow that. And yeah, I think the mix came out really good, and everything I had to say on the drums came out the way I wanted to. So yeah, that definitely feels good.
And you have a lot to say on that album. What struck me as we're talking about song lengths and also about, the way this album came about, and I went back and listened to a lot of the opening tracks for the records, and it struck me as if Downfall of Gaia seems to really, really consciously choose one of the best songs for the opener. So, for example, Existence of Awe, the opener for new album, it's a really perfectly balanced post-metal or post-black metal song, and everything happens at the correct time. So how important is it for you guys to set the tone with the very first song?
Yeah, I think historically as well, the last few albums, there would be a drone, an ambient part, a synth. And after doing that a couple times, it definitely set a certain mood. And as we were writing the songs, picking the order, collectively we decided, like, yes, it's been a few years and we're back, we're here. And we even had some drones and synths, and we said, no, we're going to go right in, launch. And yeah, I think it was important to set the tone with the first song, with that song, set the tone of the album. And yeah, it's a new direction, and also kind of a new feeling to start the album that way. And I think it's appropriate.
Would you agree that it's a very punchy beginning?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Even with the drums, it's just right in, double bass, toms.
Yeah.
So every instrument, it's just like right in your face and no build up. It's just like we're off to the races. Yeah.
Although for everybody who's now afraid that he'll get his like true Scandinavian black metal stuff, don't worry, because there is something that when I revisited some of the songs like 2 hours ago, so I noticed something. What strikes me, and I only noticed it at the third, fourth, I think this was my fifth spin tonight. It sounds as if the record is a little bit more on drums and synths than on riffs.
Yeah. I don't think it was intentional, but as Peter wrote some synth lines, I remember us talking about it as a band, and every time I was like, yes, do it twice, because it's something new. And if the melody or the synth line, if it speaks to me or to the band, like, keep it. There's no need to come in and say, hey, riffs only. I mean, of course we all love riffs, but yeah, I really think the addition of synths and Lulu's vocals just adds a beautiful extra layer on top of what is already Downfall of Gaia. To you know, if you're already flying with the music, then you're already then off to even space, outer stratospheres, whatever. That's at least how it feels to me. Yeah.
And again, for everybody who's listening and hasn't had a chance to listen to the new record, first of all, change it, because when you listen to this, you already had a lot of weeks' time. And second of all, what I like about it is it's very, very dense, and I like that about records. What struck me again thematically was that it sounded a little bit darker, a little more pessimistic than others. Not to make anybody think we're talking about like depressive, suicidal black metal, but you know, there seems to be a lot of introspection, a lot of darkness in it. So first of all, who wrote the lyrics? And second of all, do you agree with my perception?
Yeah, Dominic wrote the lyrics, and I do agree with your interpretation and perspective on that. And all of us in the band agree as well. I mean, it's, I don't have to say it again, but like, we've all been struggling with the world. It's, you know, it's not getting better. You know, you see things seem to be getting worse everywhere perpetually, and there is no beautiful sunny day ahead of us. It seems to be only getting worse and worse economically, and you know, the climate wise, everything. So there's definitely a darker, pessimistic vibe on this album. Yeah, basically because of the extreme weight of the world that is weighing on all of us. Yeah.
And that hasn't been lifted for 3 years. Nevertheless, sometimes there are like tiny, tiny rays of sunshine coming through. Do you think that music like yours needs that?
I don't know if it needs it, because there are other bands that are also even way more pessimistic, and it's just an onslaught. And I love those bands as well. But for us, I do think as people and as a band and musically, all three, it's you know, we are optimistic and we do have hope for all these things. But yeah, even in the music, if there's a little glimmer, the sun's coming through the clouds, but you know, if you see that, then of course the next part of the song is even darker.
Yeah, a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But as I said, there is this tiny bit coming through. And of course, there is also that kind of, again, Downfall of Gaia, typical kind of mysticism. You know, it sounds, I mean, the band title already implies it, right? There is like the reference to antiquity, and nevertheless, you make it feel as if, even though you're talking about things that could have happened 2,000, 3,000 years ago, as if a lot of the things that you are saying are also based on real life experience. Coming back to that mysticism, is there a certain love for that kind of storytelling in the band?
Yeah, I mean, Dominic would have to answer that better, but I do think so. Yes, a lot of the topics, even on previous records, are more of these grandiose, larger topics that are timeless.
Yeah,
including the finality of life and, you know, cyclical nature, all that. You know, even the last few records were heavily based on time. And yeah, I do think these ancient themes fit us and fit our view, and it's like I said, cyclical. So 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 years ago, I mean, we're still struggling with the same problems, even with more. Yeah.
When do we learn?
Yeah.
The new record is again out on Metal Blade, for which you have already released, I know it's not all of them, but nearly all of the previous Downfall of Gaia records. Have you ever thought about releasing the stuff on your own label?
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit. We are really happy with Metal Blade. We're all friends with Metal Blade Europe and certain employees in the US as well. They're all great people.
And they're doing a good job for you as well. We have to agree on that.
Exactly. Yeah. So personally, I mean, it would be great to do a Downfall of Gaia record, but also I'm very aware on the other side, since my label has done some of my own bands, So Hideous, This Is Oblivion, Number 12 Looks Like You. It's a lot of work, and I do enjoy the other side of just being the artist and then allowing Metal Blade, another large label, to just handle everything. And all I have to do is say, yes, no, okay, let's, this works, instead of having to actually do the work. So to answer your question, I would love to. I think this record, we made the right choice, but in the future, we'll have to see. My label keeps on growing and we're expanding. So maybe in a few years, it'll be appropriate where I'll have enough resources to be like, okay, let's do this next one, with.
Would you say that at the moment, Downfall would be a little bit too big for Silent Pendulum?
I don't know if too big is the right word. It's more of resources and what the goal is.
Yeah.
Because I think, pressing vinyl, CDs, merchandising, that's all pretty much would be about the same. But with Metal Blade, of course, it's Metal Blade. It's has a certain clout in the record label world. So if something from Metal Blade comes into your email, you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to definitely open that, just because of how how strong the label is for 40 years, more than 40 years. So it's more of that thing. And people have asked me before, do you prefer DIY label, big labels? And I don't think there's really any correct answer. It just depends on what you want. I mean, the big labels are successful at certain things, and more DIY labels can achieve totally other things at with a different methodology. So I don't think there's really a right or wrong. It's just two totally different options.
I hope that now everybody at least has the first Easter egg that I incorporated into that opening question. So Michael is running Silent Pendulum Records. If you are looking for a record label with the most beautiful vinyl combinations, look up Silent Pendulum. And of course, I want to spend a few minutes on talking about the label, because I always admire the stuff that you guys put out. It's always a pleasure to look at and to listen to. Also, because you have a very good knack of getting bands onto your roster. Sometimes we're talking about newcomers, and sometimes we're talking about older bands who are either re-releasing something through Silent Pendulum or rather putting out new music. For example, Glass Casket will be doing that. How do you go about getting new bands on the roster? What does a band have to do to get onto Silent Pendulum?
Yeah, so in the early days, I'll say even up till now, one of the biggest factors is, how is this band live? So I'll say, more than half of my signings were because, I was on tour and one of the bands playing with us played. And I mean, if you go on tour, you play with a lot of bands. So when someone blows you away, I immediately, I play my show. And after, I'm like, okay, wow, you guys are great. What's going on? Do you have a record label? No. Okay, I want to put out your music. So a lot of the bands on the roster I met on tour around the US, in Europe, and they just blew me away live. So step one is to have great music, of course. That's obvious, but to have a good live show, to sound like the record or even better than the record live, that's really telling of a band. And then with, again, the pandemic, there was 2 years you couldn't see shows. So what did I look for then? I looked for passionate people, people who are doing this for the right reasons. And I get a lot of emails, a lot of people I've met like, oh, can you do this? Can you do this? And even with friends, sometimes I have to say like, well, it sounds good, but you still need to do XYZ. You have to do some tours. You maybe have to re-record it, things like that. But yeah, usually the biggest thing is live, and then unfortunately, having some good social media presence. I'm still a little bit in the old school mindset of like, okay, DIY, tour, hit the pavement, like do that. But in today's day and age, there are a lot of successful artists who've never played a show. It's all Spotify, it's all just social media and just finding your community online, which is very valid. I mean, I've signed a few of those bands and joined some of those online communities, and yeah, it's fascinating, but yeah, that's about it.
I know one should never ask a label owner the following question, because usually one gets the same answer, and it's something like, oh, they're all my children and I'm so proud of each and every one of them. That's true. But being a teacher, I know that you can like a lot of people, and there is still always somebody who you like a tiny bit more, or not like a little bit more, but of which you're really, really proud. So are there any particular releases on Silent Pendulum of which you are that tiny little bit prouder than of the others, who you also all love dearly?
Yeah, that's a hard question. You're right. I mean, I love them all. Every record is my baby. I have every single copy of every color in the other room. But the most proud release, it's tough.
Or you give us 2 or 3, so you don't have to pick the one.
Yeah. I'll say, can they be ones that I play in too?
Nope.
Okay, so those are off the table. So somebody else. Yeah, I think my friends in El Paso, the band called No Suffer, they very hardworking. They've been working for years, and I met them on tour. I did their first EP, and the band is No Suffer. They have a new album coming out this year, and
through you,
it's just on Silent Pendulum. Yeah, we did their first EP. It was SPR 037, so about 2.5 years ago. And it's just their story particularly. They weren't really doing a lot of tours. They were pretty new to it. And to see how quickly they grew and how thankful they are, and I mean, really like how family they are. We'll do video calls. We'll talk about the future. So that's that's a band I can see. I really started as a seed, and now they're growing into a beautiful plant, and still learning, still working really hard, and still very excited just to be playing and creating. And it's really beautiful to see authentic, organic excitement and love for music still, because it's so easy, as you probably know, with emails and all the behind the scenes, to just get exhausted to the point where you're like, whatever. But to still see the love in their eyes gives me, energy and passion and fire to push them and push the label and us even further. So that's definitely a big one for me.
One.
And then another one, this one's interesting, a band called Sleep Sculptor. We're currently doing their pre-order right now, comes out April 28th. But their first EP I pressed during COVID, and it was the first one I released, I think, in the pandemic. And it was the first one that sold out in the pandemic like this, because everyone was scared. It was a crazy time. No one knew how long this was going on. Everybody still wanted to support artists. And it was funny because I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. I released it at midnight as kind of a Easter egg secret release. I was like, okay, midnight, everybody. Dropped it, went to bed, got up, it was sold out. I was like, whoa, didn't expect that. I was like, all the vinyl is gone. And it was, yeah, I still remember that day to this day, because that was when the music industry flip-flopped. It was live music. You have to tour, merchandising, in person, and e-commerce flipped. And at that time I was still doing the record label as a hobby, but that moment it was like this, and I was like, okay, this has to be my job now. There's a demand. I really want to be giving people physical media. And from that moment forward, we've been growing and building, and now Sleep Sculptor has a super heavy new album. I think 4 songs are out right now, and by this time this comes out, I think a week after this video comes out, the vinyl will be here and their album will be out. So that's another very important moment for me.
As you're talking about vinyl, is there anybody who helps you pick out those amazing color combinations?
Definitely. So Taylor Bates is the vocalist for Steak Sauce Mustache, Hollowing, and Your Hands Write History. 3 bands that SPR has released, and it's done really well. And he's also a phenomenal graphic designer. Basically, Taylor has done, I would say, about 90% of our releases and layouts, and some of the album covers, the designs, the stickers, the logos. So he's super talented. He lives on the West Coast, so it's always a 3-hour difference and a slight struggle. I don't want to say struggle, but it's always something to keep in mind when him and I are working together every week. But in the early days, we would get on the phone every 2 weeks and talk and decide, how will this yellow interact with this black color? How will this transparent pink look with this? So years and weeks and months of back and forth and experiments and failures. And the biggest difficulty is the digital mock-up compared to the product. Because digital mock-up, you can do anything, you make it crazy. But when you take the physical materials under heat and pressure, the colors, it's hard to predict exactly what will happen. I mean, these pressing plants are getting really good at replicating certain things, but still there's a level of unsureness about what the product's going to look like, the vinyl. So Taylor Bates and I would spend a lot of time doing research and figuring it out. And the last year, luckily, we've expanded more, and we have a couple of group chats with about 5 or 6 people. Some of them are in bands on the label, some of them are employees now, and a lot of people, Dave Schermerhorn and Andrew from Black Sheep Wall, Travis, all these people who are in bands on the label have been helping out a lot, because as you can imagine, and as you probably know, it's very taxing mentally to be like, okay, let's really get this color palette perfect. So very thankful for them. They everyone involved has just been a huge help.
And I really have to say, if I had, for everybody out there, if I had to rank Repcord's label according to the beauty of their vinyl, then there are 3 for me that always deliver. Elusive Sound from Switzerland. May they rest in peace. I still hope that Philip will continue. Majestic Mountain Records from Norway, and Silent Pendulum. Those are the 3 bands who always get it right. and who never do the same shit twice. And that is something that I really love. And every vinyl nerd out there knows how important that is. Michael, you do too. And that is something that is really, really amazing. So you've already mentioned 2 upcoming records on Silent Pendulum. You've spoken about No Suffer and Sleep Sculptor. Which other records can we already tell people out there to be excited about on Silent Pendulum?
Yeah, so of course you already brought it up, Glass Casket. It'll already be announced in public by the time this is live. Sleep Sculptor as well, and then going into the middle of the year, we have follow-ups from Koningsor, band from Texas, and we just announced the signing of a band called Cell Damage, so that'll be this summer. And also, yeah, a couple other bands that haven't been made public yet. So
all good.
I guess the best is just to follow us, to keep in touch, and like, subscribe.
That's always the best, right?
Yeah.
So to clue up the little other Easter egg, I have 2 questions about So Hideous. First of all, when is the next one coming? Because all So Hideous albums somehow always make it into each and every month of my listening tables. So when is new stuff coming?
So we have a couple.
If you are allowed to disclose.
No, I'm allowed to disclose. Yeah, we have some shows coming up, some small tours. Nothing in Europe yet, but I'm working on it. We have 1 song recorded, so we're working on how to release that, and hopefully by April I'll have a better answer for you. But yeah, things are in motion. We have some songs, some demos, but yeah, we're taking our time. We really love the last record. I mean, that was really something special.
One of the best of that year. One of the best of that year.
Thank you.
Still saying that.
Thank you. I really love playing that record. I'm excited that we're going to get to play it more this year. And yeah, we want to keep going in the direction of None But a Pure Heart and keep looking for more abstract influences while keeping the So Hideous mantra there in the center.
Yeah. And the second question about So Hideous, have you ever thought about doing a split between So Hideous and Downfall of Gaia?
I haven't, but now
you ask.
Now I have. So when it happens, I will give you credit as the mastermind for bringing those 2 worlds together.
I mean, like many people will say, like, oh, those are different bands. Yes, they are, but come on, everybody outside of our realms, that everybody still considers both metal, right? So
yeah.
Without wanting to be credited, but I always wondered when we would get that, or if we ever get that. Last question. You go ahead.
No. Yeah, I was just agreeing with you. Yeah.
The last question before our quickfire round. You've toured with many bands yourself, and you've played a lot of shows. And if you could choose any one of your bands to go on tour with 3 or 4 other acts, and these need not be bands that you played with, and also not active bands, but let's just say like an imaginary dream list tour. First of all, which of your bands would you choose? And I'm very sure that neither of the bands will be unhappy if you say the other. But which band would you choose, and which other 3 or 4 acts would you get together?
Okay. Do they have to be metal bands or any bands for the tour? Okay.
As I said, you have an eclectic taste. As long as you don't say Burzum, everything's fine with me.
Okay, great. So the band I will pick will be This Is Oblivion, because we haven't toured yet. So
yeah,
that's
cool.
We'll do that.
Have you played live by now?
Not yet. We're working on it. So hopefully June or July will be our first gig. So we're on our way.
So St. Vitus, come on, get him on stage.
Let's go. So this is Oblivion, and the tour package would be Nine Inch Nails headlining. We'll do my favorite new hip hop artist, Baby Keem. And to round it out, I got the vinyl up there somewhere. I was just listening. Altar of Plagues. We'll bring them back for the reunion. Yeah.
If you get that done, man, if you get that done, then your label will sell out everything in 6 hours or so.
Yeah.
By the way, this is Oblivion would be playing which of the slots? You've already mentioned Nine Inch Nails closing it all out, but which spot would you be playing?
I guess we can play before Nine Inch Nails. That's nice.
That's a good one. I like that.
Yeah.
So first of all, thanks for all those details. And now we get to roast you a little bit. And I've heard people say, like, with those questions, you are making me make enemies. Yes, sometimes I am. Something easy to warm it up, because I'm very sure that I already know your answer. What do you prefer? Writing and recording, or touring?
Touring, performing. Yeah.
I was
Easy.
sure about that.
Yeah.
And if you could choose the next continent for the next tour by Downfall of Gaia, let's say, Asia versus Australia.
Good one.
I know.
I would say Asia, because we have toured Australia and I have some very good friends there, but Asia, we've only played Japan. So I'd love to play some other countries in Asia and see more of the world.
Festivals in America. One doesn't take place this year, but you get a choice between Psycho Las Vegas and Oblivion. There is a second part to that name, I know, but
Oblivion Access.
Yeah, Oblivion Access. Yeah. So Psycho or Oblivion Access?
I would say Psycho Las Vegas, just because I want to play drums while I'm inside the pool.
Wonderful. As I know that you got a heart for hardcore as well, I'll give you a few for that. H2O versus Sick of It All.
Ooh. I think Sick of It All. Sick of It All, a little spot in my heart for that.
Two bands in which Zack de la Rocca was involved: Inside Out, New York Hardcore, or Rage Against the Machine.
Ooh. I mean, I'm a big Rage fan, so I'll say that. And also, I love what he did with Run the Jewels. Also, really phenomenal artist.
Youth of Today versus I just had it in my mind and I forgot it. Youth of Today versus Bane.
I'm not super huge into either, but I guess Bane.
And if you don't know the following two, then I know you will check them out, but I also think you know them. And you will also see why I chose them as a package. See You Space Cowboy versus See You Next Tuesday.
See You Next Tuesday, because they are just, and their new record, really happy for them. And yeah, I'm friends with a few of them on social media, so it's really good to see them return.
Yeah, and if anybody doesn't know about See You Next Tuesday, just hit, when you're done with this interview, just hit the interview section. There you will find an interview with See You Next Tuesday. The Mars Volta versus At the Drive-In.
Ooh, yeah, that's a hot debate, but
not for me.
For me, Mars Volta, that's really one of my favorite bands of all time.
Do you like the new record?
It's complicated. I saw them on the tour. They did for the new record here at Terminal 5 in New York, and it was great. I'll say it's great. But as a drummer, some of those first drummers are my biggest influences of my entire life. So I'm forgetting their new drummer's name, but I follow them on Instagram, and really unbelievable groove pocket drummer. And they did a great job. But for the new album, I think I got the vinyl, and I think I listened to it once, and I haven't given it enough time, but I would say it's like pretty good, but didn't capture me right away.
I think that's the curse of a band which has released a record as their debut, which might have become one of the, I would say, 25 best records of all time when we're talking about heavy music. And Die Laust in the Comatorium is just, it's a thing of beauty that has never been done again, neither by them or anybody else.
And you know, it's a fun thing trying to explain the Mars Volta to somebody who's never listened to the Mars Volta. Especially
that's easy for me. Because I just say it sounds like German krautrock on steroids.
Yeah.
But no, it's really difficult. I mean, like, there is krautrock, there is salsa, there is hardcore, there's prog rock. But I also have to say that I definitely like the first one best. I like the rest. I still haven't gotten into the new one yet. But the first one just came at the right time. I still remember the excitement that we had in our early 20s when that one came out, and we were not disappointed.
Yep.
We've been talking about you wanting to play Asia. So, what would you prefer, ramen soup or sushi?
Sushi, big time.
And you've also hinted at the importance of social media. Facebook versus Instagram. My daughter would say TikTok. But I'm like, no. Old school. Yeah. Instagram versus Facebook.
I think for me right now, it's Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a few years ago, Facebook, but as we all know, it's constantly shifting. So right now, the usability and networking capability of Instagram has been a very important tool for me. And I still currently like the user experience right now. It's still good for me.
Two different genres, but which one would you rather listen to right now? Post-punk or industrial?
Right now, yeah, I'm having an industrial phase for sure. Listening, also some of the releases for SBR, I'm starting to dabble. So it's where industrial is heading right now, also with fusions with other genres, I really think is another revolution. And I feel like it's going to continue happening because it's being done really well.
For all of you, again, who want to discover some new, really interesting industrial stuff, listen to Fallangst from Austria. Awesome stuff, which you, of course, can also find here. When we're talking about industrial, let's talk about two classics. Front 242 versus Coil.
I would say probably Coil.
I know that atmospheric black metal or post-black metal, or however we want to label Downfall of Gaia, but there is always some kind of post-rock influence. Mono versus Godspeed You Black Emperor.
Yeah, two classics. For me personally, definitely listen to more Mono.
Okay. And now, of course, we cannot leave you without questions about black metal. Bathory versus Venom.
Tough one. Let's go Venom.
Interesting. I would have chosen Bathory.
Yeah.
I would choose Bathory over nearly everything.
Oh, nice.
Wolves in the Throne Room versus Agaloch.
Wolves in the Throne Room. Yeah, two hunters is like, really does it for me.
That was a game changer, wasn't it? Back then? Yeah, that's true.
It was.
Michael, thanks for your time. Thanks for all the wonderful details that you gave us into Downfall of Gaia's new record. And of course, we are looking forward to the release of the split between So Hideous and Downfall of Gaia. If that ever comes to life, I want to do the premiere here on this channel.
Deal.
I got your word for it. That won't be cut.
It's on recording.
It is on recording. So, Michael, hope to see you when you come here on tour in Europe. And otherwise, all the best and a lot of success. And I'm very sure that when this comes out, you already had a lot of success with the new Downfall of Gaia album. Thanks for joining the show.
Thank you. I had a great time. Thank you for your time, and it was a pleasure. See you soon.
See you soon.